Today's AskReddit post. What's the nastiest thing you did for money? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. This was just yesterday. I cleared 150 condoms out of a guy's sewer line. At least he is being safe. I worked at a call center. It was the most degrading work I've ever done. I have seen people stressed out in call centers. They pay cheap, but make you work like a dog. I hope you are in a better place now. Much better. Thanks. The one good thing about my time in a call center is that it made me put more effort into a job search than I ever did before, and it paid off. I once drunkenly reached into a pastrophe at a music festival when some rich sob threw two separate $100 bills in there to see who'd grab it. Little did he know I would have probably done it if it was 20s too lol. I found a $500 chip in the urinal at a casino once. I scooped it out with my room key, tossed it in the sink, doused it with soap, and washed it up before I went to cash it. I thought I was on a hidden camera show at first. I know exactly what you felt. But man duck whoever would try and shame you. A free 500 bones for a couple seconds of dirty hands ain't poop. It's not like you gotta drink it, like some freaks actually have done for money. Telemarketing. Sold vacations over the phone, so people would go to Destin, Florida and would have to sit and listen to salesmen pitch timeshares. I feel dirty thinking about it. LMAO. I went on one of those $99 for 3-night luxury timeshare resort vacations back around 1998. I knew going into it that part of the deal was sitting through a 90 to 120 minute presentation. I managed to put it off the first day. The second day I sat down with the cheerful, flirty sales girl. She starts her presentation and I stop her. Explain to her that I made about $20,000 a year. Their target was $65,000 a year minimum. I could barely afford rent, much less a timeshare, and that I'd be happy to sit there and listen to her spiel, but I was just being upfront about us both wasting our time. She got pissed, went on a rant about me scamming them. They never asked what I made. They offered a vacation, so I took it. Got her supervisor who got pissed. I basically sat through an hour of people being furious with me and threatening to charge me the full resort rate. Finally they told me I could go, but to never come back to one of their resorts. Participated in a study for lotion you rub on your boobs to make them bigger. Not even joking. For 2 months I had to rub this lotion twice a day and then once a week go to the clinic so someone could measure every aspect of my boobs. Not just size. Distance between nipples. Distance from chin to nipple. Circumference of them. It was so embarrassing, and in the end I had the placebo. But I made $500 to pay my rent back in 2002. I got paid to duck a intercourse worker in front of her disabled client, who liked to watch 2-hour session, and I'd walk away with $200 once per month for about a year. It was in 1996, and I was a student, so it was good money. This also makes you a intercourse worker technically. You know who else is a intercourse worker technically? Translated very erotic love letters. One woman who was cheating on her husband wrote to and received from her lover in France. Edit. I didn't expect this story to arouse so much interest, so I think some background is due. It happened around 1999 to 2001, when the internet wasn't widely available in our country, at least. They were exchanging regular snail mail letters. From what I gathered, the lady used to stay in France for a while, where she had met her beau and started an affair. She had some very basic knowledge of French, but needed help. You know how sometimes people can casually chat in a language, but a large written text freaks them out. I was in my early 20s and my customer was past 40, so you can imagine the cringiness of the situation. She would sometimes bring a letter and ask me to read an on-the-fly translation to her. As for the salacious details, I really don't remember much. It was generally like, remember how we did this and that? I often dream of doing that again etc. Basically, it was like that song Dylan wrote for Haley in Modern Family, only in French. Working on the active face of a landfill to get to the work sites. You oftentimes would have to navigate on foot through the active face acre where the trash is dumped. You can't comprehend all the sights and smells at once. Too many shapes, colors, and stinking wet slop. So you look down at your feet. You plod carefully around hoping you don't slip and fall onto the garbage, which may stick you broken glass, needles, or rusty rubber if you were to be so careless. The municipal garbage is smelly but tolerable. It's really the construction debris that's noxious. The construction debris trucks come and loudly dump a lot of some things, and the thick white dust that comes off it leaves you gasping. You lose a little bit of your hearing every day, and you get more used to the bad air, and you pray to God that you get out of the dumps for good. Decent writing. You could write a book. Let medical students practice genital and rectal exams on me. In fact, I'm literally sitting here in my medical gown and waiting for the next student to come. Edit. I realize my typo now, everyone. I meant to write come. You guys are getting paid? Exclamation mark. The medical student who practiced on me didn't even use his hands. Not me, but my partner met some creepy old guy in his car to have intercourse for £100 when he was 15. Then he made a run for it with the money before they did anything. Then met up with me, asked me out on a date, and we had our first date with money stolen from a pedo. Fast forward a few years, we are still together. Cooked maggots. I worked for a company that made natural pest control and natural animal feed. My job was to cook maggots for the natural bird feed they made. This was actually one of my favorite jobs to do for that company. Where'd y'all get the maggots? They had fly rooms, and the flies made them naturally. They also bred flies with mosquitoes and made a natural fly control. Look them up. They are a fascinating company. The name is Arbico. Telemarketing. I know. I should be ashamed. How did you even survive in that job? Won't you get frustrated? I was a telemarketer working on 9/11. We were literally calling people in New York as the towers were attacked. We didn't know though. It was creepy as a wave came across the building of confused workers standing up, taking off headsets, and saying the customers are yelling at us for calling right now. Finally, a manager stopped all calls and wheeled a TV in for us to watch what was happening. Cleaned up the poop that had been smeared all over the men's restroom at the grocery store where I worked when I was 16. Zero PPE provided by the manager, who told me you're the only other male working today, and I'm not cleaning that up. Knowing what I know now, they should have brought in a hazardous waste crew to deal with it. I've rated guys' dick pics for them before. It started as a joke, but then dudes were sending $20 to have this rated. I would score them based on a duck ton of criteria and give feedback. It was hilarious fun, but also ended up with some really weird ass dicks. I would think any ass dicks would be weird. Suicide cleanup, which is part of my job. Damn. I remember watching a series based on that. Isn't that traumatizing? Sometimes. The smell is usually the worst part. Just think of the double pay since it's hazmat, and keep on going. I'm a nurse, so I've cleaned up poop, pus, vomit, other bodily fluids, gotten punched in the face, kicked, verbally assaulted, also have provided post-mortem care and medical treatment to genuinely bad people, because it's part of my job, as in intercourse offenders, violent people, etc. Gotten spit at, pooped and peed on, coughed on intentionally, wouldn't recommend it lol. People will never know. I refuse to go back to hospital. Doing clinical research now. But people will still talk down to you, or argue cause Google. I was looking into research nursing, or poison control, when I finally do get completely burnt out from but yeah, all that stuff, especially the abuse, is seen as part of the job description. We seriously need better laws and protections, because you swing at a cop or literally anyone else equals jail. You swing at a nurse, nothing happens. I tested medications because I was in need. I will never do it again. Been there. Depending on the study, they may provide lodgings, bunkhouse style, and food. Decent takeout. No idea what it did to my body, but got paid enough for a plane ticket home. My first day working for a moving company in Boston. I was driving under a bridge at the same time as a dude who was jumping off to kill himself. I was going maybe 70 miles per hour. He exploded on the front of the truck. I was 18 and it still ducks with me 20 years later. My best friend had a similar incident. Man had already jumped and hit the ground, but she didn't have time to stop and ran over him. She couldn't drive for years, and she still can't drive at night because of it. Cleaned up vomit in a movie theater bathroom 5 days a week. People who do these jobs are the reason places don't stink, and they are underappreciated. Thank you for what you did, and I hope you are in a better place now. Totally. I think it's important for everybody to have a job like that at some point. Makes us love and appreciate and be gracious with each other in life. It was 2020, right before the pandemic. I went to an older man's house who I responded to on Craigslist for a cleaning service. I didn't know it was like a secret kink post though. I get over there and he made me lick all the handles in his home. Made $3,000 though. Helped a lot. He for sure came on everything in that house for days before you got there. Ever wonder where the cheap mass-produced eggs come from? Well, they come from factory farms. Those factories have to be clean every day. Even though we clean them every day, you could not feasibly clean everything every day. Do you know what happens when liquid egg seeps into a semi-sealed conduit day after day mixed with water? For 9 months. I do. I can tell you that it will no longer resemble anything like egg. It more closely resembles Play-Doh. I can also tell you what it tastes like, not by choice, and it's not a pleasant smell or sight. This is horrific. Pulled the liner out of my boss horse pond. It was misery. Slogging and rank water up to my chest. Water full of algae and decaying horse poop. In 100°F beating sun and 95% humidity and a persistent swarm of mosquitoes. Some got in my ears, eyes, and mouth as I worked. I stank of horse pond for a week. Gross. Yours was the first I read, and it's enough for me. You win in my mind. Clean up murder scenes. Janitor at a 24-hour truck stop. Never again. That was my job at the ripe old age of 18. Full body hazmat suit with a FASA mask and a high pressure hot water hose. Multiple times a day. I will never understand why people feel the need to write things on walls in public bathroom spaces with their own poop. I did work in exchange for money. I bet you even got direct deposit. Ahinastai. Worked at a choice hotel. The owner was a rich Indian that owned tons of hotels. He used pirated software and operating systems. He only employed desperate migrants from his own country to house clean 4 cents on the dollar. He would double charge people then ignore them. Every single day I was there I had at least one person call frantic and desperate to get their money back. We had to tell the manager isn't here and tell them to call back. He was never there, so we just had to string these poor people along till they gave up. Eats away at my soul like 10 years later still. Are there any giveaways or tells when a hotel is like this, so that I know to stay away? Like if you had any words of wisdom to give to dodge sketchy establishments like that may look innocent on the surface, what would they be? Just curious. When I was working at a grocery store, we used our basement for storage. Fridges, freezers, etc. And brought everything up on conveyors. Shit would fall off the side of the conveyors all the time into a little locked room that needed to be cleaned out every few months. I'm talking ice cream containers that fell out of the box and would explode spores into your face if you poked them. Bags of frozen vegetables that blew up like balloons and were full of liquid. You'd just shovel all this rotted waste into bags while trying not to breathe. There were rats. There were cockroaches. There were flies. I nearly quit. At least, thanks to me, they started cleaning that area once a week before I left. That was after the manager came down with me all angry and telling me that it's not that bad. And then seeing and smelling the mess for himself. He stuck his face in his shirt and ran out of there. Had unprotected intercourse with a stranger. It was a very dark time in my life. I was suicidal and didn't care if anything happened to me. Thankfully, nothing bad happened. Hope you're doing better now. Farted in a guy's mouth for 5 minutes. I would actually pay to watch someone do a 5-minute fart. More if there is a tune involved. When we were kids, my brother said he would give me $10 if I drank a shot of soy sauce. 10/10ths don't recommend. I'd do that for free. Damn. Nurse here. My time to shine. Just a few examples of the joys I've experienced on the job. Cleaning up diarrhea when my glove broke. Amniotic fluid on my shoes. Emptied a bile drain and proceeded to spill the contents all over my scrubs. Got projectile vomited on by a guy with a bowel obstruction. The vomit was practically fecal matter at this point. It splashed everywhere and somehow even got on the door on the other side of the room. Cleaned up scrotal peelings from the patient who kept peeling the dead skin off his nutsack and placing it on the bedside table. I worked for a kitty litter company, a name you've heard of. My job was to help test surfactants on the clay. It was honestly a fascinating job. I mean, you have to accommodate not one, but 2 different species, right? But the gross part of the job was that we had liters of cat pee under a hood with stir bars in them constantly stirring. We also had buckets of cat poop. Why? Because we had to dose the litter and then lean in and smell it, recording our observations like a sommelier. Yes. But I was paid extremely well, like 3x minimum wage, during high school, and we got cookies. The really interesting job, though, was held by the professional nose. Her opinions were the ones that mattered, and she would sniff cat byproducts day in and day out. My bosses were 2 ladies with degrees in physical chemistry and a very down-to-earth perspective on life. While deployed, my buddies chipped in $200 for me to eat a fly strip. An old fly strip with flies. In Iraq, the stipulation was that I could use water, but I had to keep it down for at least an hour for it to count. I made it an hour and 2 minutes. The hardest part eating it was that fly strips have ridiculously sticky resin that makes eating them a huge challenge. My technique was to make little balls that I could swallow with copious water. I saw them all later. Between that and other stupid stuff done for money, I didn't need to draw casual pay for the entire deployment. Unneed. Walked out of a downtown Vegas casino, drunk at 3 AM with my boys. We have a long running inside joke with blue drinks. My buddy sees a half-drank plastic cup of some sort of blue drink, with a straw, sitting on the curb. He says, "I'll give you $100 to drink that." I did it on the spot with no hesitation. My wife would later tell me that of all the things I could do in Vegas, don't ever ducking do that again. Worked as an escort in a private club when I was 15 to 17. Quit when I realized if I had saved money instead of blowing most of it on coke and other drugs, I would have been able to afford to go to my dream school that I had gotten accepted to. Never did end up getting any degree, but my life did work out pretty well. So it is what it is. Worked as an escort. 15-17. Pardon me. Offered up my ass and mouth for rent money. Not in that order, I hope. Don't yuck my yum. I voiced a character for a furry porn game that never went public. It was commissioned by some rich dude, but was cancelled before it finished. Paid me €200 for a handful of lines where I degraded myself as Princess Buttercock, who I presumed was bovine in nature. If anyone else is paying good money for this, please let me know. I'm desperate, and fur is loaded for whatever reason. I would do this as well. Just voice acting? I'll say whatever you want. 29 meters, was daddy's good girl for a weekend. NTA your bussy your rules. Definitely the asshole, though. Administered Lotus Notes. Remove deer carcasses from the road. I'm thankful there are people doing that job. It keeps people safe from running over the carcasses and maybe having a wreck or something. Thanks for doing that. Worked behind the bar at the Sheffield United ground. Those cunts are loud, rude and crazy. Couldn't agree more. I have seen some crazy fight videos and throwing beer all over. Damn those psychos. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.